All right, finally back from SHOT Show. I can't tell you guys how glad I am to be home. I'm so glad to be home that I guess you guys can have a short little travel montage as a treat. I've been going to SHOT Show like 7 or 8 times now, and I think we've done a SHOT Show video or 2 every year on average. We used to do overviews of the show, but as time has gone on, we've been busier there, we've been spread pretty thin, so last year I just did 2 videos on very specific parts of the show, and that was it. Actually, one of those was the very first video on the T-Rex Labs channel, so now we've been whole year, which is pretty cool. And last week I already posted a video from SHOT Show on Garmin. It was not even a particular product video. It wasn't even about their booth. It was kind of just Garmin in general, what they mean for the gun industry, how good it is to have them at SHOT Show, etc. But this week we're going to try to get back to the overview, a little bit more broad look at SHOT Show. And there's a bunch of stuff, I'll tell you right now, right off the bat, that we're not going to cover. Because a lot of the big, obvious products that already have lots of hype and buzz, we're just gonna skip those because other channels have covered those better than we can. So we'll just kind of brush past them. Stuff like the Primary Arms HTX-1. If you wanna know what I think about it, I can just tell you right now, it looks fascinating, but I barely looked at it. The Glock Aim Point Collaborative Koa optic also looks really good. Didn't really talk about it there. EOTech's new Voodoo looks great. Especially once you put it on a Trijicon mount and give it a little Trijicon RMR, like that's when it really shines. But I didn't even make it to their booth this year because we were spread pretty thin. And I would say we did more this year because this was our very first year to have a booth. Up here on the 5th floor in what used to be the Supplier Showcase is now the Extra Space, and we have our first booth at SHOT Show. You can see it is pretty small, but it's also pretty busy. I've had to stand in line to record this video at our own booth because of how many folks we have here. But we're talking about some nylon stuff, we're talking about some armor stuff, and we have our holsters, because remember, we're a holster company. The cool thing is we have retail packaging for holsters. We have a dealer program now. We're going to be putting these into gun stores. So this is a very cool thing. And SHOT Show is a fantastic place to talk to people who are interested in wholesale holsters for retail. We also have a lot of meetings at SHOT Show, and it's hard to talk about the meetings without making it sound like we're trying to sound super important, you know? But this is where we spend a lot of time with the vendors that we get product from. It's where we have a lot of conversations that just can't be public. And I don't want to be really highfalutin about that, but sometimes, yeah, sometimes we do have secret conversations about stuff. But a lot of times it's just super boring. Like we're talking about black versus FDE anodization ordering ratios for different products, trying to figure out what colors are going to be in for the spring season. Will it be Ranger Green? Will urban camouflage be coming back this year? Stuff like that. And also, since I've been going to the show now for over 7 years, I have a lot of personal conversation with people that I have now known for a long time. So this is the food court area down on the first level. It's basically lunchtime and it's pretty much always jam-packed. Now, these tables are for dining use only, not to be used for meetings. And I've never actually seen a meeting take place at these tables, but I will say I've been in lots of conversations down here, and they've always been productive. Not meetings, but good networking, productive conversations. And it definitely feels like SHOT Show has gotten bigger. It's still only about 54,000 people, and there's still only about 2,800 booths, and it still only takes up about 830,000 square feet, which now that I say it out loud sounds kind of big. But even though SHOT Show hasn't really grown physically, there is more variety. There's more kinds of stuff. There's more variety of conversations. There's more media coverage. There's more networking going on. There are more different types of companies in the supplier showcase upstairs. And it feels more like SHOT Show is becoming a full service operation as opposed to just a signing show. So we're here at the Spyderco booth, and if you look behind me, you can see people doing business deals. They're actually signing contracts and putting in orders for fantastic Spyderco knives. Actually, I don't want to talk about the knives so much as the fact that that's how SHOT Show used to work. 10 or 20 years ago, kind of pre-internet, some of the stuff we've talked about in past videos, this was a show where you would come to put in orders for your mom and pop gun shop, your brick and mortar stores. They would come here to see the new product, to order the new product, put in those POs, build relationships with the traveling salesman that they might see later in the year if they're a big enough shop. And there's actually less of that going on at SHOT Show now. Now, a lot of products get launched here at the show, and internet people, show up and film the product. And that's a larger purpose behind the show. Now, still a bunch of people doing stuff, still a bunch of people making deals, ordering stuff here at the show. There's still business activities happening at a bunch of these booths, but it just has a very different feel. This is much more of a networking and media show than it used to be. And this happened to a lot of industry shows, not just SHOT Show. So kind of remains to be seen what happens in the future with SHOT Show. If it continues to be this kind of professional industry show, if it's an OEM show with a supplier showcase upstairs, if it is a brainstorming, compendium, educational time with some of the lectures that are happening out there, or if it can keep doing all of these things. But it's been interesting to see some of the stuff develop over the last 10 or 15 years. And we're going to continue to come because it's worth spending time with the people. Now that I've been coming long enough and I know enough folks, that's really the highlight for me. Seeing new product is always cool. Looking at Spyderco knives, always cool. And occasionally we do this kind of business here, but oftentimes it is more the relationships, it is more the brainstorming. So, in addition to all the conversations and meeting friends and brainstorming and showing people prototype products, I'm still interested in other people's prototype products and the new tech. So I did look at a bunch of things. And while I did skip those big products that you care about, there was one big showstopper product that I had to see with my own eyes and touch with my own hands, experience the greatness fully for myself.
Like most people say, thanks for giving us the thing that nobody asked for, but everybody wants 5 of.
Yeah, so this is kind of fascinating. So what I love about this design is not the stripper clips, but because there is an internal magazine, there is no grip and magazine combination. This thing feels like a comfortable P365. It's a little bit thinner, it's a little bit lighter, and it holds how many bullets?
You get 21 rounds of the 5.7 in there.
So twice as many if you put the extra mags in your P365. And the street value of this is going to be low. So yeah, this is a great glove box gun, probably. So yeah, everybody's asking about it.
Yeah, so, like you said, with it being, it's the slimmest, lightest 5.7 pistol on the market.
Yeah.
I think the next lightest 5.7 pistol is almost 40% heavier than ours.
It's very interesting.
A lot of people thought we did the no detachable magazine to get around mag band states and everything, but like you said, it was actually just to keep the weight down, keep the grip size down, and just make it one of the most comfortable guns to ever carry. Like I can say, it's fat guy approved. That's nice to carry.
It's a fun size, and I've never wanted 5.7 in a pocket pistol before, but the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. This is a fantastic gun for my mother-in-law when she comes into town. It is easy to rack the slide, and it shoots soft, I am told. Like I said, I want to shoot this gun because it's weird. And then I also have to ask, we got our fascinating lockup system. We have lugs at the front of the barrel. Can you explain that patented KelTech madness? Non-patented, of course, but this is classic KelTech stuff.
Yeah. We definitely, everyone says we are innovation in an age of just a million AR-15s, but with our rotary barrel design, and you have your lug lock up in the front, really helps cut down on recoil. Yeah. And also with the rotation in the barrel, you do get a lot better extraction and ejection. So,
yeah. Which is good because 5.7, high velocity, relatively low thrust.
Yeah.
And especially out of a shorter barrel, you need to be creative. And this is This is a lot of things, but it's definitely creative.
One of the coolest features also that I don't know if some people have seen is disassembly. So just push your trigger forward, you'll see the slide jump forward just a bit and right off.
Nice.
And you can see we have our dual recoil rods in there. We went with the dual over the single just to keep the profile of the slide a lot lower. So if we went with the single recoil rod, you would have to sit a little bit higher, but we're trying to keep it as low as possible. And you can see just your little cam trunnion block in here, and you have your barrel, but it's nice, easy to break down, easy to clean, anything like that.
Extremely fun stuff.
This material is how it comes.
Can never get it right on. First try on camera.
Nice. So yeah, you know in movies when occasionally people like meet a witness or they meet somebody and they're like, here's a 5-shot revolver, point and click. 5 shots, throw it away.
It's like
20 shots.
It's like carrying 4 revolvers.
20 shots, yeah. Smaller and lighter than a revolver.
Yep.
There's 4 of them. I like these slightly more oddball products that take big creative swings. They're more fun to look at, they're more fun to play with, and even though technically at the end of the day I'm more likely to buy a Glock with the Kowa optic than something a little bit experimental, I want to see the stuff that is pushing the envelope, the most advanced cutting edge stuff, the stuff that is outside the box, and kudos to KelTech for pushing that stuff. I've talked in the past about Olympic Arms and their little AR pistol that they came out with in the mid-90s. I never actually got one, but I did get the KelTech version of that, which is made of plastic, runs on a piston. It came out before the SCAR and kind of pioneered a bunch of interesting stuff. People laughed at this gun, and they still kind of do, but I still like it. Now, when this thing was designed, there were no pistol braces available, so there was never ever going to need to put a stock on this thing. But now there is a really nice metal adapter here. I'm still running the Ferrotech adapter on mine, but this right here allows you to have your standard pick rail brace, and yeah, keep laughing at this thing. It's still an awesome bag gun if you can find them. And even though lots of SHOT Show has grown and matured and changed in some ways, there are still out-of-the-box things. Some of them are just fun, sort of goofy things. A lot of them are fun, eye-catching experiments. And then I can also say that SHOT Show always has the best fidget spinners ever. So yeah, just hang on tight and ready to do battle. And also, after 7 years, certain things are just tradition. Some booths I always have to go visit.
Isaac Botkin makes his annual pilgrimage to the Chiapa booth to look at the rhinos. Some say they are an endangered species, but the rhinos never change.
But I think I have changed a little bit over the years because for once I'm actually in the market for a fun gun for me, or maybe for my kids because my kids are getting older. But I went into one of the fun gun booths and I found another old friend of the T-Rex Labs channel. So we're here in this Cimarron booth, which has reproduction firearms. One of them is this beautiful lever action 10 gauge that we talked about in one of our drone defense videos. This is the gun that you see in Terminator, 10 gauge lever action. We talked about it more in the other video. I also gave the wrong year. It is actually the 1887 Winchester 10 gauge lever action shotgun, and it's cool to actually do stuff with it. However, I have a question for you guys now. I have been feeling the need for a lever gun, and there's a ton of options. There are perfect, beautiful reproductions in historic calibers, but also in modern calibers. And then there's also modern lever guns that have some features. I don't want to get totally tacticaled out, but a lever gun is an interesting platform to suppress because you control the action and you can decide when you want to make the noise. So I'm kind of torn. I don't really know what I should do. So I really need you guys in the comments section to weigh in on this one, to give me some votes. I also need a wheel gun. Now I do have a fairly modern J-frame revolver and I can shoot .357 out of that. But I feel some of these older guns calling to me. And again, I need some advice. Do I want something that's chambered in the same thing as the lever gun so that I have a kind of an old-fashioned rig that plays nicely together? Or do I want something that's really, really powerful? Because that's a thing that you can do with revolvers. It really thumps people or animals. So that's the kind of thing that I need your help on. And whatever you do, don't recommend the Taurus Judge. Give me a recommendation over in this sort of space right here. Something really, really classy and classic is sounding really good right now. I wish I had shot this bit at the Cimarron booth, but I didn't realize it at the time. So Mike Harvey is the founder of Cimarron, and he has a massive, legendary collection of authentic historic firearms that he keeps down in Fredericksburg, Texas. These are the reference models for all of the reproductions that Cimarron sells. And he never takes them anywhere. He never shows them to anybody. They're not in museums, they're in his home. But there's something very special about SHOT Show because he recognizes that it's an interesting event with a lot of people, so he brings some of the actual historic firearms to his booth. And in those vertical glass cases were actual historic firearms owned by Teddy Roosevelt and others. That's why I said I wish I'd shot this there if I had realized that. But it's kind of interesting what he's doing. Cimarron, the company, has completely changed and revitalized the replica firearms industry by focusing on total realism and actual function. And one of the things that probably doesn't come across in the video is the amazing quality. If you want amazing premium quality feel in a firearm, you know that you can get a fancy 1911, hand fit and perfectly functioning. Bank Vault, Icicle, etc. You can go to Alchemy, which I generally do every year, and play with their very nice 1911s there. Or, this is kind of interesting, for a fraction of the price, you can get a museum quality reproduction 6-shooter that feels like a Swiss watch. However, you probably don't want to spend a whole lot of time in the 1800s. You probably want to move on to the future. Apparently I should put this smoke wagon back, go to work. So we're back to 2025. Manufacturing is going to be the main focus of this video. That's the main trend amongst the conversations that I had, the things that I was thinking about, the ideas that were sparked. And this is true for a lot of people. Manufacturing, onshoring, reshoring, reindustrialization. These are buzzwords that you've heard in America over the last year. And we've made T-Rex Labs videos about those months ago. This is a political focus of the year, but it also is something that we should apply to SHOT Show. Firearm manufacturers are one of the few industries that have actually stayed in America and done their manufacturing here. And the rest of the gun industry, accessories, lights, optics, same thing. They've generally done a lot of stuff locally. And I think this needs to be something that people understand about the industry, and the industry should explain this to a lot of people. Aerospace, medical, and firearm manufacturers. Those are the three areas that have kept factories open, educated and maintained our manufacturing workforce, kept trade schools busy. So we should really help the companies in our gun industry get some credit and appreciation for this, because that will help normalize firearms and build out the citizen defense industry that we talk about quite a bit. And not only do the gun companies keep the factories open and the lights on and stuff like that, there has been a lot of continued development in this area. Mostly in the past. Guns have been a core human technology ever since gunpowder was harnessed, but firearms have always driven manufacturing tech, from the early days of metallurgy through Eli Whitney building his interchangeable parts to a lot of stuff today. And today, a lot of the companies at SHOT Show, despite being tiny compared to the giant Silicon Valley code-based virtual tech unicorn financial powerhouse type buildings, they are innovating new stuff that will change how we make things. They will change how we do basic manufacturing. So this is a Magpul mag. We're at the Magpul booth, and they do a lot of injection molding of plastics, kind of their thing. They're really, really good at both the mechanical process of the molding, also the chemical process of the polymers. And they've also experimented with other stuff over the years, like metal injection molding, which is not a particularly new thing. Like Kimber famously made a bunch of metal injection molded parts back in the day. MIM parts got a bad rap because in the early days there were voids, there were ways where it didn't really work together. They were more fragile than a machined part. But over time they've gotten better at eliminating those voids and making stuff work a lot better. But Magpul here has something that's really interesting. They have an injection molded part that is not only strong, but it is knife blade strong. So they are injection molding. They probably call it something else, but they have essentially a machine injection molded metal blade. And a knife blade needs to be very strong, and it needs to be very hard, and it needs to be able to hold an edge, and it needs to be tough, and there's a whole bunch of people that spend a whole bunch of time on forums going over these fancy knife steels. And in theory, this Magpul blade will hold up to some of those premium steels. And that is very cool by itself. But I'm interested in what happens after this. Because if we look at this knife blade up close, you can see that not only is it, look like a good knife blade and sharp, but there are very fine surface details on this knife blade that hold up really well. So the Magpul logo and a little place to hold a washer or a bushing or however it is that their pivot mechanism works. There's some complicated 3D geometry here that would be really hard to mill out, and it would be very time intensive to etch. But if they can actually mold complex parts like this that hold up to knife duty use, this could be the future of a lot of really fascinating metal parts for firearms or optics housings or other things where the machining process works and produces the superior part. But if you can actually get that strength with this, you can make complex internal and external geometries faster and easier. And I'm also excited about whatever the next step beyond this is, which is if you can injection mold this stuff, is it possible to 3D print it? Is it possible to get this to work inside of some of their isostatic pressure chamber stuff and get some of the same performances? So I am a knife guy, I'm excited about the knife. But the technology, I think, is just scratching the surface of some new stuff that we might see in the future, which is really interesting. So the firearm industry is this strange combination of tightly regulated and highly taxed, but also fearless and willing to try new things because, hey, we're already hated, we're already canceled, we're already demonetized, we're already whatever. And this combination of tight constraints and great courage leads to some interesting ideas and an eagerness to think outside of the box sometimes. Now, it can also lead to retreating into the old ways just to be safe, but recently I think the general trend has been the other way, especially as people get more direct in how they talk about the Second Amendment and defense. So one of the things that we've talked about in previous videos is a trend a little bit more away from hunting into a tactical space. And you can see that in the decor of the booth, you can see that in the products, you can see that in the interest of the people, the coverage of SHOT Show, and we've covered that a lot ourselves. But another trend that I'm seeing is a lot more direct talk about mission, firearms, bearing arms, stuff like that. So KelTech obviously does a lot of innovative stuff, and they do a lot of stuff within the industry, but more and more people, this is something I think that KelTech has always believed, but more and more people are putting this stuff on their signage. More and more people are talking about the defensive use, the protective use of firearms very directly in their slogans, and that is a very cool trend. And this trend has been happening for years. It's very cool to see the effects of the trend playing out now. T-Rex, I think we're in a very cool place to watch this. Not only have we talked about the citizen defense industry a lot, but we're a small company who nevertheless gets to deal with a lot of other companies. Like we're more of a partner than a competitor to a lot of the folks at SHOT Show. So we get to see things developing across the space and hear directly from other people what they are experiencing. And we're hearing that this trend is happening from a lot of other companies. Companies who take care of other companies like MK Machining are also seeing this. So we've used MK Machining to do some of our prototypes. They prototype a lot of stuff for a lot of the industry, and they're growing as a company, and I enjoyed seeing some of the new 3D printers that they own at the show. So you got all these 3D printed parts that you might see at any manufacturing show, maybe ones that we have gone to at T-Rex, and metal printing for suppressors. But there are some cool things that MK Machining is doing with newer printers, like printers printers that can print in color and transparent. So you have internal structures visible inside of prototypes. Not functional, but handy for educational stuff. And also some very interesting color options here. Plastic grips, very sturdy, but with a pattern that goes all the way through. So you can have your 1990s dentist office decor, or like whatever strange and esoteric camouflage pattern you would like. Cool technology. But as much as I love those technical achievements and the big leaps in technology, I also like the simple little innovations, the small problem-solving solutions. This is kind of a niche product from MK Machining, but I love it. If you are someone with older eyes, you have trouble managing your turrets on your optic that you have dialed in for your older eyes, little magnifying glasses so you can actually see what's going on, built-in scope leveler, all aluminum, super nice. Not for everybody, but for some people, this is just a really handy thing to have. And because of manufacturing advances in 3D printing and machining stuff, it's actually worth making low volume stuff like this for people who have specific needs. Always fun to see. And SHOT Show is always full of new companies with cool stuff that are made to solve small problems. Sometimes it's really simple solutions, but it's a really creative way to meet really specific needs. And a lot of that is on display on the first floor. Most of them are new American startups, but there's also a lot of Chinese companies down there. I believe that I heard more Mandarin on the show floor this day, especially around the thermal boots. Which leads me to the second big trend that I want to talk about, but that will be in next week's video. We are kind of out of time here. I need to spend more time on the state of thermal and some of the optics. And, of course, PSA. We haven't even talked about PSA yet. So, I want you to keep an eye out for next week's video, but I also want you to look on the T-Rex Armory channel for Brandon's video. He is also doing the overview, and he is also covering a lot of stuff that I didn't have a chance to see. I think that after coming here as often as I have, I would know my way around a little better, but still kind of get turned around.